our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, black voices, black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up.
KBLA Talk 1580, a little El Chicano in order of tribute to our next guest. He served as the official poet laureate of LA from 2014 to 2016. He is an urban peace activist, a writer, an essayist, a poet, a novelist, memoirist, short story writer, children's book writer, youth and arts advocate, a husband, a father, a grandfather, a great-grand. I didn't know that, a great-grandfather. He's got 16 books in all genres. And, of course, you may know him from his best-selling memoir, Always Running, La Vida Loca, Gang Days in L.A., his latest, his sequel memoir, It Calls You Back, an odyssey through love, addiction, revolutions, and healing. And we are talking about Luis Rodriguez. Good morning.
Well, good morning. Glad to be here as always.
Yeah, it's great to talk to you always. You know, I feel like to really tell what you do and your impact would take a whole hour, and then you wouldn't get to talk. But there's a lot of levels to it. I was telling you on the phone, I did my cleanse. I know that you do the sweat lodges and you work with young people to reconnect with their healing and their ancestry so that they can get their lives together.
You know, it's how I tell people that the best way to activate your own nature is to be in nature. It's the best way. Nature and our nature are really meant to be together and activated. And so the best thing to do is get out of the city for a while, go somewhere, or even in a nice, beautiful park, whatever it is where you're in nature, your own nature really comes alive.
Wow, that's a great point. Do you ever use that tool or that idea for your writing, for your art?
I have to, because you know the clutter and chaos of the world. You got to find a clearing. You know how that is, and the best thing to do is be in a clearing. But even in your mind, in your psyche, you got to know how to get that clearing, so that the most expressive, creative part of you can come forth.
And so, we were having a debate about Afrika Bambaataa because he's one of the godfathers of hip hop, one of the pioneers, but yet he was, incredibly accused of being a pedophile and abusing these young men. And so how do you heal from that? And Miles is saying, do we burn down the whole house or do we stand on what he called a splintered foundation? And for me, it's family. So whatever trauma, the epigenetics, whatever the things, the transgressions, the crimes, and the abuse, if we don't heal it, then we can't build a new house.
Yeah, we're going through that in this community, as you know, the Chicano Latino community with Cesar Chaves.
Yeah.
Revelations, and so we're going through that. And it just says a lot that the generational trauma, it's not to excuse anybody, is also part of our struggle to create a new world. You know what I'm saying? And if you don't point that, if you don't focus and say, this is what it is, this is what this is what that is, a lot of us carry those previous traumas and we carry them into the world. And so we have to have a community that says the women and children uplift them first. You know what I'm saying? Because that actually uplifts men. Men may not think that. But we have to turn community back on its head, that the women and children were always first, as you talk about family. Men are important, but they weren't primary. I hope people understand this. It's not to diminish whatever men can do, but what happened in our society with the patriarchy and everything, men became dominant, men became the power, and it actually imprisoned them. They're mutated as men. They're not really fully men. So we have to, if we're going to do a foundation, I think we've got to start it with the basic thing of keeping our children and women uplifted first and centered, and men can play their important role with that in mind.
The example of Cesar Chaves is a great one because you don't want to you don't throw out the work, you don't throw out the organizing, I think. But we have to have a reckoning of sorts. And I'm of mixed mind about this because on the one hand, I feel like we're still trying to get these Confederate statues taken down, but they took down Cesar Chavez in 3.2 seconds. And I don't like Farm Workers Day because I feel like it erases the Latino and Filipino aspect of the struggle. Right. I feel like, it'll be Farmer Joe in 5 minutes and he'll have blonde hair and blue eyes. And I feel like it should be Latino, Filipino Farm Workers Day or UFW Day or Dolores Huerta Day or something. What do you say?
Well, I think there has to be a change. Obviously, Cesar Chavez, two things are true at the same time, always. And so we can say Cesar Chavez played an important role, but he himself was a terribly flawed human being. I don't want to say flawed because it could mean that he's just, an angry man. No, he was a very terribly flawed human being. But we got to be able to take both of them in account. Now, Dolores Huerta Day, people are moving in that direction. Again, trying to uplift her role because she was always given a secondary role when she really wasn't. And so I think it's okay to reestablish things as long as we, like you're pointing out, we don't lose the heart of the movement. The heart of the movement was these primarily Mexicans, Chicanos, and Filipinos stood up against a very powerful industry, and it became a national issue. You know what I mean? And we don't want to lose that part, regardless of who it was and who wasn't. That was important, and we got to keep that going because the struggle is still going on. Farm workers are still struggling. If people can keep both things in mind, that we can heal or address the issues that are detrimental to us, while at the same time we keep moving forward, because I think the other reality is that we have to look at things in their motion. You know what I mean? Not just when they're standing still. Things are moving, and we're moving towards greater justice, and that's the direction we have to go.
Yeah, we have to look at things in motion is deep because we do like to take a snapshot and take something and, kill it and then put it under a microscope and then put it under glass. And by the time we get our report out, it's already not that anymore. Exactly.
And I think that's what we have to all learn, because one of the things you mentioned about the house that we're trying to build or tear down, a lot of people, maybe because they're just being responsive, they're not really, or reactive, they're not really being proactive. They just want to tear down what's ugly in this world. I get it. But if we don't build a foundation based on those old principles of what's decent, what's good, what's truthful, what's beautiful, you know what I mean, we'll be walking around in ruins. There's a lot that needs to go down in this system, as you know. But we have to, again, I call it uplifting or centering those things that are actually the best part of our humanity in relationship with our nature and nature itself. Move those things constantly so that there's a foundation we can stand on, even as we tear down some of those corruptive aspects of colonialism and capitalism that keeps holding everybody back. We have to pick up that part of us that still is decent and beautiful and truthful.
Yeah, you really connect to your indigenous roots, and to, as I mentioned, the vision quest, the sweat lodges, and those traditions of our ancestors. Why is that important, Luis?
Well, because of my own roots in Mexico, my mother's Ramuri, which is a very important tribe in Chihuahua. My dad had Nahua roots, but he was also, Spanish and African. He had all the mixed elements that is in that part of Guerrero. But when I went to my indigenous roots because I wanted to, this year I'll be 33 years sober.
Wow,
I
that's
needed to sober up. I
amazing.
know it was really, and I'm not against any of the programs, but I personally had a hard time with the 12 steps. I'm not against it. I take people to meetings, and I go to meetings every once in a while, but it didn't seem deep enough for me. And right at the same time, I connected with some Native Americans and Chicanos in Chicago who were into the Red Road, which is just indigenous spiritual practices. That spoke to me more than anything. And it was good because it was going back to my mother's roots. You know what I mean? So I thought that that's where I needed to go. It's not to take down anybody's else spiritual practice. I believe they're all valid as long as it leads you to that path of wholeness and completeness. I don't care what religion, what church. If it takes you down that path, go there. But I needed to go this way, back to my roots to move forward. And that's why I do indigenous spiritual practice. I've done vision quests, that you point out. I do regular sweat lodges. We have ceremonies on the res. Me and my family got adopted 30 years ago by a Dene, a Navajo elder, and his wife. So for years and years, we did ceremony over there. They're the best family I have. They're in Arizona on the reservation there. So that keeps us connected to the land and to our roots, even as we move through our communities and the way we have to navigate through everything.
And you've shared that with folks that are, maybe going through some of the battles you went through as a young guy,
Right.
coming out on the streets, coming out under all the pressures of this system. And so I guess I'm kind of trying to connect the dots here as we talk about healing hip hop and Bambaataa. We talk about healing movement
Right.
with these revelations about Cesar Chaves, and not just throwing out the baby with the bathwater. How does the, connecting with indigenous practice for people that are maybe not going to be on a whole long quest like you are, or maybe not going to adopt it as their own spiritual tradition, but how does it help them find their way to wholeness or find their way towards gathering themselves?
Well, I think that the whole idea of healing is wholeness. You mentioned that word. And I think we're whole when we're born, and we're actually whole our whole life, but we don't feel that way. So we tell people that wholeness is within you. And the medicine is actually inside of you. It's not like doctors who give you all these pills and everything. And I'm not telling people they shouldn't take their pills. I'm just saying that's what it is. It's always like, that's the medicine. But the medicine is really inside of you. All those pills that actually activate what's already inside of you are the best pills, if you're going to do that. But the ones that are just thrown in, actually, what I find is if you know the medicine's inside of you, and if you know that the medicine is all around you, this is what the teachings help you understand. That you can get healed, you can find antidotes, you can find renewal and regeneration everywhere you look if you know how to look. And that's what I think these practices help us with, knowing how to look, how to stop, how to pay attention. I was reading yesterday about sacred geometry. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that it's in nature. And people who have high, PTSD, high trauma, they tend to be people who look at numbers or look at forms and count them. I learned this from somebody that if you have high PTSD, you start looking at why you do that, because it helps stabilize you. Like if you see a row of lights, you want to count the lights. If you see a row of fences, you get caught in this. And I used to do that a lot. I didn't understand it. And it goes, it's just to stabilize. Your brain is trying to stabilize. It uses geometry to stabilize. And so nature does that. If you go to a flower, if you go to anything in nature, you'll see the geometry that's sacred. We need to find those sacred geometries everywhere so that we can stabilize ourselves to move forward. And that's what my teachings have helped. I work with kids who have murdered people. I've heard with people who have done sexual predator issues. I work with, I say kids, they're young men, young women who've been either victims or perpetrators, and I've had to work with them this way because they need a place of stability in a world of instability.
It's a bookstore. It's a cultural center. It's a hub of activity. You can go to tiachucha.org. It's TIACHUCHA, tiachucha.org to find out more. We'll continue the conversation with the iconic Luis Rodriguez when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Break out the champagne. Everybody get a laugh.
You know, 5 years goes fast when you're doing something you love. 5 years of being right there with you, in your car, in your kitchen, at work, in your earbuds. And we don't take that for granted, not for a second. When it came time to celebrate our 5th anniversary, we knew it had to mean something. And we're celebrating on the most fitting day there is, Juneteenth. We're still putting the finishing touches on something really special. And before we tell the world, we want to tell you first. Once we announce this event publicly, we expect that seats are going to go fast, really fast. So, go to our website right now at KBLA1580.com and sign up to make sure you're the very first to hear what we've got planned. Before we go public with all the details, you've been riding with us. It's only right you're first to know. KBLA1580.com. We'll see you on Juneteenth for our 5th anniversary banger. Banger, banger, banger.
On top of home and auto, Progressive protects your boat, RV, and motorcycle so you can explore the unknown.
Actually, we just take the RV to the same campground every year.
Well, maybe you can catch your own dinner on your boat.
Oh, we can actually get pizza delivered there from this brick oven place we love.
Will you at least try a new topping?
Honestly, probably not. We kind of have a go-to order.
Fine. Just bundle home or auto insurance with your outdoor vehicles with Progressive and stay protected when you go, I guess, where you've gone before. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Not available in all states or situations.
Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, host of The Voice of Reason, weeknights at 7 p.m. here on KBLA Talk 1580 with a personal invitation for you to join me and Insight.me as we present The Healing Box live at Inglewood's world-famous Miracle Theater, Saturday evening, May 23rd at 7 p.m. Look, I understand your attachment style has been running your life like a rogue algorithm, and nobody has had the courage to press pause. Until now, Dr. Bakoya McCall and yours truly are curating a night where clinicians, spiritualists, and an all-star panel of Black woman healers like Dr. Shalonda Sunshine Crawford, Dr. Jashana Johnson, and spiritualist Precious McGill will join some amazing spoken word artists and the legendary comedian Louis Dix to diagnose, disrupt, and heal your relational wreckage in real time. Listen, bring your trauma. As a matter of fact, bring your baby mama. No, bring your testimony. And if you're still texting your ex at 2 a.m., baby, you're not just invited, you're the target demo. Tickets are moving fast, so grab yours at themiracleinglewood.com before your dating history gets flagged as a pre-existing condition. That's themiracleinglewood.com. We'll see you there Saturday, May 23rd at 7 p.m.
Thanks for waking up with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
And you're waking up with Luis Rodriguez, Tia Chuchas. I was looking at your calendar. You guys always have so much going on. Every first Friday of the month is open mic night. You have little markets, mercaditos, that happen seasonally. The book club every fourth Thursday of the month, except for major holidays. Book discussions. It sounds like just a lot of fun and a lot of stuff going on. And you're celebrating your anniversary always every year, right?
Right. We're in the 25th year.
Wow, congrats.
This is a very important year for us. Yeah. And if, and just since we're there, any donations that people want to give, just go to our website, tiachucha.org, because we are looking for support. This is a hard time for organizations like us, as you know, with the government that we have and the pressure to not fund these kind of artistic, cultural resource centers. But we still want to stay alive and be there no matter who's running the government, because we need them. We need culture, arts. We need writing. We need theater. We need music. It needs to come alive, and it's one of the most healing things that human beings can do is get into their arts and culture.
That's 12677 Glen Oaks Boulevard in Sylmar. That's where it's at. And the 25th is Indie Book Day. Fill a bag, a book swap. That's this the 25th of April coming up. And also, talk a little bit more, go a little deeper in what you just said, because I know the government is cutting funding for things, and there's this anti-DEI kind of executive order, which seems to be affecting other things, right? Because you're not government funded, so some people may be scratching their heads. Why would this make a difference for Tia Chucha?
You know what it does is it impacts other funders and other people. I think there's a kind of a hoarding with some funders. Maybe they're waiting for this government to pass. Mm-hmm. It could be that they're just holding on. They don't want to be looked at or undermined. Because the problem with the 501c3, and we're one of them, we're 501c3, is that there is a nonprofit industrial complex. You understand that? Mm-hmm. And even though we're 501c3, we have to navigate it with our vision and our principles, because it could be quite inundating and or could throw you off for a loop. So we're into that kind of system. And as you know, if it's a system and it's part of the system, it's got its gaps. You know what I say? I tell people, whenever you're part of the system, you're going to have huge gaps. But I think the reason why we navigate through them, just like why we navigate the electoral arena and everything else, is because those are places where we can fill in those gaps as much as we can. You know what I'm trying to say? If you're going to get into those areas, fill in the gaps, and don't let the government or funding world dictate what you do or don't do. But it does impact you, because we don't really get government funding so much as we get support from a lot of donors and funders who are independent. But they're all being pressured. It's that kind of world. That the anti-DEI thing is really weird how people are really affected by it. It's really impacting funders and everybody else. So it's a real impact who's running the government.
Yeah, I think that's right. What I've observed, too, is what I call this preemptive surrender, preemptive capitulation. We've seen it with educational institutions, and I'm imagining it's happening in philanthropy, where people just surrender to what they think is the agenda of the Trump administration, even before the demand has been made by the administration itself, just because they want to stay out of the crosshairs.
That's exactly what I'm seeing, too. Exactly. And I find that to be very exasperating.
Yep.
We don't need to do that. But some people who have these money strings, whatever, are making those decisions. I can't say who they are. I can't say who's actually doing that. But I do feel that impact of that, of people just deciding, like you're saying, just giving up right now or waiting for a better time. I don't think we should ever do that. You know, black and brown people of color and communities, we've been fighting when there's been good times and bad times. You know what I'm saying? We've had terrible presidents. We've had relatively good ones. We still keep fighting. It's like you can't stop, and we got to fight through Trump. You got to fight through the guy who follows Trump, So It's something that I think we can't stop doing. It only we got to get better at it. Got to be more mature. We got to get better organized about it. But the point is, we can't stop.
It looks like speaking of fighting, it looks like the UTLA, the teachers have made a tentative agreement with the district, and the administrators, the principals and such, have made a tentative agreement. And not surprisingly, the folks who get paid the least to work the most, Local 99, SEIU, the janitors, the cafeteria workers, those folks still do not have a deal. So if SEIU doesn't have a deal by the end of today, we'll still have a strike tomorrow, because the other two unions are going to stand in solidarity.
I think that's important. My dad was a janitor. I really believe those people, and I'm saying those people because there's a lot of our families are in that world. I don't mean just janitors, but hardworking people that are unsung. Nobody gives them that credit, but they keep everything going. And if we don't honor them and give them what they need to just survive, the LA city is one of the hardest places to live in, as you know now. It's so expensive. People are moving out. I have two of my sons, my great, beautiful sons, they're grown men living with me because it's hard for them to get out and find a place with the rents and everything. And I don't mind. They're great. They're great. People say, why don't you get rid of them? Heck no. They're great sons, and, but the point is, we're living in a world in which the least of us aren't being honored and respected, and yet all the money is being put in the military, trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I think there is a point that we have to point out. That's connecting the dots. Where is our money going to where we can't pay people what they should get paid? Teachers should get paid almost as much as anybody else, including the people running Congress, who are highly paid, and no matter what happens, we'll keep getting paid.
Yeah.
We got to pay our teachers.
Even when the government shuts down, they get paid. Yeah.
They get paid, yeah. Yeah, we got to pay the people who actually keep the things going.
Well, I think it's great that the administrators, for the first time, the administrators, the teachers, and those workers in Local 99 are all in solidarity. So I think it makes it much more likely that we will see a deal with Local 99 today. If that happens, there will not be a strike tomorrow. If it doesn't happen, brace yourself, because everybody's going out on strike, and those almost 400,000 students will not have school because they cannot run the schools with all three of those unions shut down. So, be ready. Hopefully the district comes correct and makes the deal. But if they don't, schools will be closed tomorrow.
It's important because now we're going to have all our kids out there, and we should do things. Our community should open up. Dia Chuchas will be prepared. We'll do stuff. We did it before in other strikes and other issues where we've opened up the center, have young people hang, do things healthy and creatively so that they're not out on the streets just, with nothing to do. People should prepare to address our young people if that happens.
Absolutely. News, traffic, and sports. Then more of our conversation with Luis Rodriguez, poet, author, and organizer. It's only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DePrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
I'm Misty Jordan with BIN News Now. The country's second largest school district looks like it'll be in session this week. Sunday morning, Los Angeles Unified announced the district and the teachers union struck a tentative 2-year agreement, possibly avoiding a strike that was set to start tomorrow. LAUSD says teachers' pay scales will go up 11.65%, and the starting salary for a teacher will be $77,000 a year. An organization that supports and promotes Black-owned businesses brought its national tour to Memphis this weekend. The event, called Shop Black Fest, featured 90 vendors offering everything from food to clothing and live music. And the WNBA draft is happening tonight in New York City. The main event will air on ESPN at 7 p.m. The Dallas Mavericks hold the top overall pick. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Now that the NBA regular season is over, here's what's on the menu for the Lakers and Clippers. The Lakers are meeting up with the Houston Rockets in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. Game 1 in the best-of-7 is Saturday at Crypto.com, 5:30 p.m. tip-off. The Clippers are the number 9 seed in the play-in round. That means they will have to win 2 games to make the playoffs. First game is Wednesday night against Golden State at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, 7 p.m. tip-off. If the Clippers win, they would play Friday night at Phoenix or at Portland. The WNBA draft is tonight. The 3-round event starts at 4:30 on ESPN. No first-round pick for the LA Sparks because of a trade with the Seattle Storm in 2024. 4 UCLA players are projected to go in the first round. Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice, Gianna Neekins, and Gabriela Jaquez. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
The joint will be jumping. Ebony Repertory Theater, in association with Big Street Films, brings you one of the most beloved musicals of all time. Tony Award winner, Ain't Misbehavin'. The soulful, swinging celebration of the music of Fats Waller. From the rollicking to the romantic, this show is pure magic, full of the songs that defined an era and the voices that'll make you forget everything else for a night. Foot stomping, heart stirring, unforgettable. Don't miss Ain't Misbehavin' at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center, starring Lettucey, directed by Ren T. Brown. This is the night out you've been waiting for. Tickets are going fast, so don't wait. Grab yours now at ebonyrep.org or call the box office today at 323-964-9766. Ebony Repertory Theater, bringing the culture, keeping the legacy alive.
Ain't Misbehavin' runs May 21st through June 8th at the Nate Holden Performing Arts Center. Get your tickets now.
Indeed presents hires you can't afford to get wrong, like a cybersecurity engineer at a publicly traded company.
We've been hacked! They're through our firewall!
How is that even possible?
They got my password.
Please don't tell me your password was password.
It's actually password 1.
This is a job for sponsored jobs. This is what happens when you don't sponsor your job on Indeed. Next time, get matched with quality candidates with Indeed sponsored jobs. Visit Indeed.com/hire now and sponsor your job today.
Paid for by government.
The 1986 to 2021 United States Silver Eagle, the first ever U.S. silver dollar minted in 99.9% pure silver and is the best-selling coin in the world. These original and historic silver dollars have ceased production forever. They will never be minted again. For a limited time only, full-pound bags of original U.S. government-struck silver dollars are being released to the public. You can own a full pound of original U.S. silver dollar coins featuring Lady Liberty and the heraldic eagle, never to be struck again. Guaranteed. Call now to secure original United States Silver Eagles by the pound. The first U.S. silver dollars ever to be struck in 99.9% pure silver. Plus, receive a free bonus, an American Collector's Pack valued at over $40 and free shipping with every order. Call 1-800-560-6468 now to secure your full pound bag of United States Silver Eagle coins before they are gone. That's 1-800-560-6468.
Can we just talk? You've heard me say it before, how we talk to one another matters. Earlier this year, we launched our first cohort, and I'm grateful to those who leaned in early and helped to shape the work. Now I'm inviting you to join me for a new live seminar, The Practice of Dialogue, Becoming a More Effective Communicator. This is a small group experience designed to help you strengthen how you communicate in your work, your relationships, and your everyday life. Space is limited to keep the experience personal and interactive. So if you're ready to take your communication to the next level, now is the time to focus on the skills that make conversations meaningful. The new 4-week cohort begins Monday, May 4th, and there's a nice discount for early bird registrants. Visit TavishTalks.com to learn more and reserve your place today. That's TavishTalks.com, because better conversations don't just happen, we practice them.
We knew you'd stick around. This is LA's home for progressive talk radio. Welcome back to KBLA Talk 1580.
Welcome back indeed. We're talking with Luis Rodriguez, an award-winning poet and author, a community organizer, and the person behind, one of the people behind Tia Chucha's, which is a bookstore, a cultural center, a community hub, and a lot of other things. You can find them at tiachucha.org. It's TIA, or is it .com? It was just there. TIACHUCHA.org. There we go. There it is. So, so many things to ask about. We were talking about vision quests and spirituality, and woke up to the Pope, to the President of the United States insulting the Pope. Well, he did this Sunday. He called him weak on crime, terrible for foreign policy, and claims that he wouldn't have been picked as Pope except for that the Vatican was trying to appease President Trump. He says, I don't want a Pope who thinks it's terrible that America attacked Venezuela, and I don't want a Pope who criticizes the President of the United States because I'm doing exactly what I was elected in a landslide to do. Pope clapping back, saying, basically, I ain't scared of President Trump. I mean,
right.
And what do you make of this? I mean, then he posted an image of himself on Truth Social as a Jesus Christ-like figure, the president.
Well, I think, well, he's demented, but here's the problem. There's a whole mess of Americans that enabled him way back. Everybody knew that he was a self-centered, egotistical, narcissistic person. But people thought they can get power and dominance through him. Some people. But when you're dealing with people like that, you're going to have to go into the psychological complexes. You get pulled into it. He's psychologically messed up. There's something wrong with him. And you can only keep those people in check up to a while, but then you start falling right into their complex. And those MAGA people are falling right into it. Now they're splitting, but they fell right into it. They didn't know that they were part of this one man's complex. Now they're splitting around it and everything, but that's what happens when you do that. That's why it's not a one-person thing. It really should be what is best for the most people. You know what I mean? Not what's best for one man. And thinking that one man is going to represent your issues. It can't. So in many ways, they put him up that way. I saw some Christians, of course, most Christians don't go along with this, but some Christians putting him up as he was God's chosen guy. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
They built that up, and that scaffolding is going down with this one guy. So I think it's important for people to know that we can't, and if anybody's going to change this, because we know, like we're talking about, black people, especially black women, were telling us what was going to happen with Trump right away. They too knew. Now we got to get the rest of the country to recognize what other people already understood. This man was going to take us down. And they're the ones that are going to have to help tear it down. How far can black and brown people take this? We'll take it as far as we can. But it's really going to be, I got to put it back on those white people. You know what I'm saying? Those MAGA people have got to find whatever they got within them to say, this is something I have to take down because I built it up. I know it's hard to say that, but I've had to deal with a number of white people at conferences, and I go back and say, we're in the streets. Like when ICE came. In L.A., it was mainly the Latino community, Mexicans, and then black people got in to support that. But where I saw white people really stand up in Chicago, but also in Minneapolis. And then I realized that we got to have white people in this struggle. You know what I mean? In one form or the other, not for themselves, but for all of us. This is, to me, a very important part. How do we get them in this country to stand up against Trump? Because the rest of us already knew him. We already figured him out. How do we get the rest of that country that didn't? They got blinded by him. And now they got to see what they got to be woke, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
As they can't stand.
Yeah. Do you take comfort, or do you feel it's an encouraging sign that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson are breaking a little bit with the MAGA sort of talking points, or do you think it's all just entertainment?
Well, I think it's both. I think it's performative on one level. But the other thing that I'd like to see is to tear down that monolith. You know what I mean? We can't fight monoliths. And they have it's kind of like it's a fake monolith. It's a fake idea that they're united, they're dominant, they're powerful. They're not. And we're all fractured, right? The rest of us. And they keep building themselves up as a monolith. I'm talking about the white supremacists and all them. But we have to tear it down. We have to fracture that monolith. And it's already there. So I don't mind seeing them going after each other. I think that's important. As long as we keep finding our unity, the rest of us, in the midst of the fracturing that they have to go through. I don't trust any of those people. You know what I'm saying? I don't trust them. I still think they have fundamental positions that are detrimental to where the country has to go. But I'm kind of applauding or glad to see them fracturing. That makes it, I think, better for all of us to find the unity points that allows us to move forward as they fall apart, because I think that's part of what we needed to see. And hopefully this is the direction things are going, that they're going to fight each other enough so that Trump and all these people that he represents will lose whatever dominance they think they have.
Yeah. Well, speaking of splintering and power struggles, I definitely want to get your thoughts on the California governor's race. You've been in it twice, right?
Yeah.
Running independently.
Yeah, and it means a lot to me. Yeah, what happens in the state. And I think it's right now, I don't know. People have asked me who am I going to support them. I'm looking at everybody. It's hard to say for me because the thing about California politics is, it's a blue state, but it's also very weird.
Yeah, I call it bipolar. I call it bipolar.
Exactly.
I mean, the fact that
That's what it is.
50% of Republicans are right now, or 49% in the convention this weekend, are supporting Chad Bianco, who is an oath keeper. A so-called former. It's like being former Klan. Unless you disavow it, you're still that to me. That shows you how bipolar we are. We have these very conservative, very MAGA pockets, and then we have the cities, the population centers, which lean left.
Yeah, and again, if we're fractured in those centers, it's possible because there's so many Democrats running that a Republican could get it. And that's where we have to look at. I do think there's a point where we can say, let's unite around somebody. I can't tell you at this point who that would be. But I'm looking at it. I'm looking to see who we can finally say, even if he's not the best that we can find.
Who
in
can
there
we
so
agree
that the
on?
Republicans don't take advantage. Yeah, exactly.
Got
so
you.
the Republicans don't take back the state. Yeah.
Yeah, especially those two Republicans. I mean, you've got a Fox News host and you've got an oath keeper. These are very extremist Republicans. Right. These are not moderate Republicans. They are made in Trump's image. But we certainly have one less candidate as of this morning.
Right. C.S. Swalwell, which is a kind of the way things are right now. I don't know what to say about that other than to say that maybe it's a difference between Republicans and the rest of us. They all tolerate a lot of nonsense from their own people. I mean, the nonsense that Trump and even Melania represent, to me, it's like some of the worst kinds of stuff. But I think the communities that we're coming from are saying, we're not going to tolerate it. And maybe there's some good in that. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we're knocking people down that shouldn't be knocked down. But my thing is, we're better at that than these Republicans who claim to be, God's gift to the world. They're nothing but liars and enablers. I think maybe we got to think about how we can stand firmer on these issues. So Swalwell is going down. He's not going to run no more. Then we got to think about who can represent then the best of our interests. Again, that's an issue. I'm not sure who can, but I think that's what we got to look at. Who can represent those interests that ties us all together?
Now Homeland Security is investigating whether Eric Swalwell hired an undocumented immigrant as a nanny, and more people are coming out, and it, saying that he made unwelcome sexual advances. It just makes me wonder about the culture of the party, that he felt like he could, with all this stuff going on, he was safe to run for governor. He knows what cases he has up against him. He knows what he did or did not do. And yet he felt bold enough to go ahead and run. I think that speaks to what you were saying about how we can't set our standards based on, well, they have a adjudicated sex assaulter in the White House. He has 34 felonies.
Right.
We have to have our own standards.
I totally believe that. I think our standards got to be high. We have to be, because they're looking at all of us harder. But I think it's not like we can't meet those standards. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What does it take to be a decent human being? What does it take to care? What does it take to care for women, for children? It doesn't take much. And so I think we can stand on those standards. I think community will be racked by it. But on the other hand, all of us can step up. I've seen, and I go to prisons for 45 years. I've been going. I'm now going to the women's prison. I've seen some people who have done some terrible things, decent human beings today. You know what I'm saying? even in me, I'm an example. I was a gang member. I did some terrible things as a young man, blah, blah, blah. I was on heroin. I was homeless. I was pretty lost. I could be found. That's our politics, that we don't write people off. But people have to step up, too. They have to step up to the best of our community. If we're going to represent the community, we can't have two-sided things. You know what I'm saying? If people say, I'm the voice of community, whatever that is, then step up to the best of the community. Step up on those standards that represents the very best of all of us, because I don't think those standards are high. I think it's just what human beings should do and be.
Luis J. Rodriguez is my guest. We'll continue the conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DePrima when we come forward.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by smart justice, because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
For the first time ever, the Action Altadena Build Together Fair and Altadena Rebuild Trade Show are coming together. If you were impacted by the Eaton Canyon fire and you're still asking, where do I start? This is for you. Join James Farr, host of KBLA Talk 1580's Conversation Live, Altadena Rising, Sunday, April 19th from 12 to 4 p.m. at the Collaboratory in Altadena. Get connected to the resources, experts, and support you need all in one place. Plus music, food, games, and prize drawings for the whole family. For more information, visit Eventbrite Altadena Rebuild Trade Show, because rebuilding starts together.
From station to stage, LA Metro connects you to the artistic heart of Los Angeles. Celebrate this National Arts Month with Metro, exploring galleries, theaters, and cultural spaces across the city. Art isn't just where you end up, it's how you get there.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds. Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
What if your rooftop could earn you money every year? With LADWP's Solar Rooftops program, you can get solar panels installed and maintained on your home at no cost and earn up to $900 a year. That's up to $18,000 over 20 years. There are no upfront costs, no credit checks, and no annual fees. Plus, you'll help power Los Angeles with clean local solar energy and reduce reliance on fossil fuels. Make your rooftop work for you. Apply today at ladwp.com/solar rooftops.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DePrima on First Things First.
Right now, we're talking with poet, activist, former gubernatorial candidate, novelist, Luis J. Rodriguez. Luis, how do you see the role of the poets, the writers, the actors, the artists right now, where we are with multiple wars and authoritarianism upon us?
Well, I think that artists and poets have a very important role. One of them is to kind of be a beacon for the world that we're in, be a light in the dark. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of darkness, there's a lot of shadow that we're living under, and we need the artists and the poets to really bring light to those things, but also point the way. Which way are we going? It's kind of funny to say, well, poets can be politicians, but we're already caught up in the political world. I don't think artists and poets can stand on the sidelines, as you know. But as artists and poets with craft, we could bring in those beautiful ways of saying things or beautiful ways of visually putting things so that people can at least see there's a way out of this. If we don't know there's a way out, it's hard for people to get galvanized to do something. You have to have a vision. You have to have an imagination. And I'm for making sure that gets developed. Artists and poets are in that realm of the imagination. Not a fantasy world, but an imagination that actually points the way we need to go.
As you know, there's more and more and more consolidation. I was talking about how I think the Trump administration is copying the authoritarian moves of Viktor Orban and trying to consolidate and control the media, threatening them with lawsuits. The Wall Street Journal lawsuit that the president put forth was dismissed by a judge today. And also, more than 1,000 writers, actors, directors released an open letter today opposing Paramount's acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. They say it's going to hurt the Hollywood entertainment industry that's already struggling, going to make less jobs. Of course, I'm against it because we're talking about, and I know it's one oligarch versus another, but we're talking about Larry Ellison, who's a huge billionaire Trump donor, now would control CNN and all of the Warner Brothers catalog. It's an unusual step for these writers and artists to try to get in the middle of this deal that the president has been pushing through, which includes, following Ellison getting a hold of TikTok.
I'm so glad that people are doing that. What's happened with media, just like in publishing, just like in almost every major entertainment industry, it's being pushed in the direction of the MAGA movement. You know what I'm saying? But they're preparing for when Trump is gone. Those people aren't going to go away. When Trump leaves, they're still going to be there. They're going to find another way to keep themselves in power, as they might say, if that's the word. I think the media is one of the most powerful ways they'll do it. And so when they moved away from just Fox and they moved away from just their little right-wing social media outlets, they're moving deeply into the legacy media. And I think we have to stand up. I'm really glad to hear and see that these writers and others are standing up and saying, no, we don't want these people controlling everything we see, hear, and feel. And that's what's going on. So I'm glad. I'm glad people are doing that. I don't know where it's going to go, but it's all the consolidation of legacy media to me is a very important thing to point out, that we shouldn't have it, and yet that's the way things are going.
Yeah, I'm one of the leaders of this is Jane Fonda, Democracy Defenders Fund, Committee for the First Amendment, Norm Eisen, and others. And I think this is, to your point, it's a reminder that each one of us can make a difference. Each one of us, even if it's a giant behemoth of a corporate deal, we can still do something.
Yes, absolutely. And always that's always a good point. Always make sure you have an option, a relationship to options. No matter how bad things are, find an option to go forward. Find a way to go. Find the crack in the wall. That's what we have to go through.
Find a crack in the wall. Exactly. Luis, what do you have coming up? What should we be tracking from your work?
Well, I'm actually got 2 books in my agent's hand, a fiction book, as well as a book on writing that I've been doing with the prison work that I've been doing. I'm going to Chicago because I have my whole family that we talked about earlier. I got grandkids and great-grandkids, and my oldest son and daughter are there. So Chicago's my second home. I love to say that because I love LA. I'm a really LA guy. But Chicago's my second home, and I love being there. And they're going to have events there where I can speak to community and everything. So I love to connect Chicago and LA whenever I can. So that's what I'm looking forward to, at least this week, next couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, you stay so prolific and you do so many great things. Folks, tiachucha.org, TIACHUCHA.org. Lots of events, or go there and buy some books if you're in the Valley. And we'll look for a fiction book and a nonfiction book on the prisons coming soon. But certainly, Luis has a lot of books already out that you can get right now. Luis J. Rodriguez, thank you so much for all of the work that you do and just for being you and all the energy you put out into the world.
Well, thank you. And I'll say a word in Nahuatl, Satsukamati, which means thank you, Dominique. Always, I appreciate you.
Appreciate you as well, and thank you so much for spending the hour with us.
Okay.
Tavis Smiley's up next. He's got his Monday Strong. His show comes in like your second cup of coffee. He's got a stacked group of incredible guests on deck for you today. And I want to remind you to tap in with me on all the social medias. You can find Luis J. Rodriguez on all the socials. You can also find me. I'm at Diprima Radio, DIPRIMA, and then radio everywhere. I even have a YouTube channel. And, of course, you can find this radio station at KBLA 1580 everywhere, including YouTube, where we are streaming right this second. Like my father, another poet, the late, great Amiri Baraka, used to say, a person is either free or they are not free. There can be no apprenticeship for freedom. Time to pick up a book, a poetry book, a fiction book, a nonfiction book, and make some space. Find that crack in the armor and find a way through. Like my mama used to say, history's now. Like I always say, we're making it together. Until tomorrow, one love.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Misty Jordan with BIN News Now. The country's second largest school district looks like it'll be in session this week. Sunday morning, Los Angeles Unified announced the district and the teachers union struck a tentative 2-year agreement, possibly avoiding a strike that was set to start tomorrow. LAUSD says teachers' pay scales will go up 11.65%, and the starting salary for a teacher will be $77,000 a year. An organization that supports and promotes Black-owned businesses brought its national tour to Memphis this weekend. The event, called Shop Black Fest, featured 90 vendors offering everything from food to clothing and live music. And the WNBA draft is happening tonight in New York City. The main event will air on ESPN at 7 p.m. The Dallas Mavericks hold the top overall pick. Get BIN News now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Now that the NBA regular season is over, here's what's on the menu for the Lakers and Clippers. The Lakers are meeting up with the Houston Rockets in the first round of the Western Conference playoffs. Game 1 in the best-of-7 is Saturday at Crypto.com, 5:30 p.m. tip-off. The Clippers are the number 9 seed in the play-in round. That means they will have to win 2 games to make the playoffs. First game is Wednesday night against Golden State at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood, 7 p.m. tip-off. If the Clippers win, they would play Friday night at Phoenix or at Portland. The WNBA draft is tonight. The 3-round event starts at 4:30 on ESPN. No first-round pick for the LA Sparks because of a trade with the Seattle Storm in 2024. 4 UCLA players are projected to go in the first round: Lauren Betts, Kiki Rice, Gianna Neekins, and Gabriela Jaquez. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
When the story gets twisted, who's going to tell the truth? When they cut the microphones, who's still talking? When history gets rewritten, who remembers what really happened? We do. KBLA Talk 1580. Black media isn't just important right now, it's essential. Because when mainstream outlets move on, we stay. When the headlines ignore our communities, we don't. When decisions are being made that affect Black lives in our schools, our neighborhoods, our economy, KBLA is in the room. This is more than radio. This is a lifeline, a record, a rallying cry. Black stories, Black voices, Black power.
The heat is on.
On the air and in the culture. KBLA Talk 1580. Stay connected. Stay informed. Stay loud.
Stand up!
One, two, three.